And one of the things I talk about often is the idea of faking it until you make it, which, again, I don't believe in at all, but would love to hear your thoughts on when people say, oh, just fake it till you make it. You're good.
I'm so glad that you said that you don't believe in it or you don't like
No.
it. Cause I was like, uh-oh, if she does,
No.
I'm gonna have to tread real lightly or go about it a different way.
No.
Yeah. I think it's total bullshit just to be like I think it's a really unhealthy way to go about life because it disembodies you. It creates disintegration. It's not authentic. And I don't think it actually gets you to where you want to go. Maybe this is just a simple little trajectory shift in it. But when folks say, I'm just going to fake it till you make it, I say, what if instead we train differently so that you can get different results?
Welcome to Her Unshakeable Confidence with dynamic mother-daughter duo Simone and Olivia Knego, where they discuss the secrets of transformation and how to build bold confidence and unwavering resilience. From intimate conversations with inspiring guests to sharing their personal journeys of triumph and challenge, Simone and Olivia create a supportive space where every woman is encouraged to rise above her fears and love the woman in the mirror. Tune into Her Unshakeable Confidence and join this special journey of connection and growth. It's like catching up with old friends who inspire you to be bravely and uniquely you.
Welcome to this week's episode of Her Unshakeable Confidence. I'm Simone Knego.
And I'm Olivia Knego.
And today we have April Diaz with us. So I met April. Well, welcome, April. Let's start with that.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
See, I say like I mess stuff up all the time, and that I do. But so we met through Brand Builders Group. We met at an event. We sat at the same table, and she's super cool. She's got a lot of great things going on. And we actually, when we first started talking, we were like, oh, we have something big in common. What's the big thing we have in common?
We both have Ethiopian kiddos
Yes.
and biological kiddos.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've got this big, beautiful, blended, interracial, multi-ethnic family. But the Ethiopia piece was pretty cool, pretty special because that doesn't happen super often.
Yeah. I was like, you have what? You have what? So
it's like an instant bond, instant connection. Like, so many things to talk about here.
I know. And it really does bond you. Like it's such it is an interesting thing that happens. But so that might become part of our conversation today. But we want to start off with a question that I really love because it's so interesting to hear each time how guests respond differently. Like everybody, and this is what's important, is because whoever you are, that whatever you answer to something, it needs to be unique to you. It's not because you copied someone else or felt like you had to say it a certain way. So what does confidence mean to you?
Confidence means, I think, the courage to match your insides with your outsides. That what is internal shows up externally, and there is a aligned and integratedness to who you are and how you show up in the world. I think that's the first thing. The second thing that confidence means to me is like the full representation of who you are. So I think those are interconnected to each other, but it's like I just was on a call with a friend and client, and she said, like, one of the things that I love about you, April, is like you just say what you mean and you don't like hold back. And there's a confidence piece in there for her that there's a connection that her and I have with each other in that, because she's like, I want more of that. And I see you practicing that. And so like that practice of being able to express what is internal externally, there's a holisticness to that.
Yeah, I love both of the things you said there, but I wanted to say that the kind of embracing all the parts of you. So I'm actually doing a speech later this week, and one of the things I'm talking about is how, we go to a networking event and how do we introduce ourselves? Like, oh, hi, I'm Simone Knego. I'm the keynote speaker today. Okay. That's not who I am, right? It's all the things inside of me. And, yes, I have 6 children. We have adopted children. I went to school for accounting and I was miserable. And then I went back to school to be a teacher. I mean, there's so many different things. I love to collect masks from all over the world. But when we go to networking, we tend to just say, this is who I am, and that's not who you are. And so I think a big part of confidence is embracing all of the different parts. So I love that.
Yeah. Oh, can I add one more thing to that, actually?
Yeah, of course.
One of the things that has helped in my own confidence journey is owning my whole story. And one of the things that I say a lot is your whole story matters. And so even as like an adoptive mom, right? Like our kids have come from really hard places and have experienced things that I will never understand or experience. And one of the things we said to our kiddos from the time they're like 2 years old, like before they even understood what this meant, is your whole story matters. And it's now a kind of a core philosophy belief in my business. And in the work that I do with leaders is your whole story matters. And when we isolate, segment, detach from parts of our stories, I actually think it harms our confidence, because we know there's like a piece of us out here that is not connected to the whole. And so we're constantly like posturing or puffing up or powering up in ways that aren't authentic to who we actually are. And so I think one of the ways you build your confidence is by owning and embracing your whole story so that you can walk fully in the shoes that you got.
And I do think that is so important. I will tell you that I didn't realize that for a very long time. I was someone that really struggled with self-doubt because of an experience I had when I was a teenager. I had an abusive boyfriend, and now I talk about it all the time because I didn't realize for years that that was one of the big pieces I was missing to kind of allow me to step into my confidence, because I just shoved it down. I stuffed it down. I didn't talk about it. I mean, yes, the kids knew about it. My husband knew about it, but it wasn't something that I would openly say to anyone.
Yeah.
But when I started kind of embracing all the different parts of me, then I was like, oh, there's nothing to be ashamed of. There's no shame here. There's no guilt here. These are all the parts of me. And I think that has made such a big change for me.
Yeah. And a lot of times it's those parts that are painful, but I am a huge believer that your pain can become this place of supernatural power. And that's where we feel powerless, is when we're not owning those painful places or those parts of us that we don't really like, or we feel like are a little quirky or off or whatever. But like, again, when there's kind of that embrace and that owning, it can become this place of power. And then it's like, that's like real confidence. It's not posturing confidence. It's like the whole thing.
I guess one of the things I think I struggle with is incorporating all of the parts of me, it just in different settings. I feel like I let go of certain parts of me just to fit the vibe. Maybe that's the appropriate saying there. And I do feel like there is kind of like a lack. Like recently, I had as like a law school prom, and you finally got to show like the fun side of everyone's personalities. And I think it was like for me, I realized that I've been judging people way too harshly based off the personas that they put on in school, and vice versa. Like I've been a lot more friendly now with people, and people have been a lot more friendly with me now that we've like really experienced each other's personalities.
I love that. I love that you got another opportunity to reveal a different part of you, you know, to the people that you've been walking through law school with. And the fact that you had some openness to go, maybe I got it wrong about you. Maybe you're not as whatever. And there might be more to you than I thought. That's cool.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. You didn't tell me that story, so it's good to hear it, because I do think that, like, no matter, we're all human. And no matter how hard we try to walk into a room and say like, okay, I'm not going to judge anybody. I'm not going to even think about that stuff. Like there are things that pop into your head. And then, but the important part is getting to know the other person, taking the time, and then taking those barriers down, because we all have them. We all have this idea that we want people to see us a certain way. And what you're going to realize is that doing that doesn't make you stronger. It's when you go ahead and take down those barriers and say, hey, this is me. And hopefully you'll love me how I am. And if you don't, you know what? There's other people that will.
Yeah. I mean, Olivia, I think that brings up an interesting point for me as I'm reflecting on what you said. And that is, judgment disconnects us from one another. And I think that the best way to connect is curiosity. So judgment disconnects, curiosity connects. And I'll admit, I'm like the queen of judgment, because it seems very efficient, right? It's like I've been I can figure things out and figure out like who's worth the time to talk to and blah, blah, blah. Like it's a very limiting approach to have judgment, but it feels efficient at the time. But what you did at your law school prom is you had some curiosity about these people that are sitting in the seats next to you and going through courses with you, classes with you over this period of time. And that curiosity has allowed for some connection. And I wonder, I just know our world would be a very different place and people would have even more confidence in themselves if they had a curious posture. I met somebody recently who I had a very strong sense of who they were and their story. And it didn't connect to me. Like it didn't make sense to me. And then I ended up having another conversation with them and I heard a lot of the backstory of this person and their perception to me was very different from their actual story. And she wasn't trying to posture or prove herself to be one way versus the other. It's just, I had my own judgments and my own thoughts about like who she was and how she was showing up in the world. And then I heard her story and I was like, holy crap. I got that so wrong. And I was grateful that there was a little bit of curiosity in me to go like, what else is here? And like, tell me more about how you got to where you are right now. And in that conversation, it opened up so much more. And now I'm just fascinated by her because like her work and what she looks like and what she does is there's so much more richness to her. And it has made me better in the short period of time that I've known her. And again, I wonder how much better our world would be if we had an ounce more of curiosity.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah, I think it's really important. It's something I haven't thought about in that respect, but I think that, I think about, okay, stop the judgment, but it's kind of the positive side of it is be more curious because when you're more curious, you find out more and then you stop the judgment anyways. So I love that.
Yeah, it's like the antidote to judgment is curiosity.
Yeah. Something new for my world today. So let's talk about holistic confidence because I know that's something that you like to talk about. And I just want to hear more about what you think about, because everybody has ideas. Okay, confidence this, confidence that. What do you mean from the holistic side of it?
Yeah, so I think that everyone is confident in some way. They have some ounce of confidence somewhere. But then there's another part of themselves where it can break down for one reason or another. I think a lot of the reasons why people don't have confidence is because they're not getting wins. They haven't defined what a win looks like for them. And so there's like a weakness or a soft spot where they feel that insecurity or that imposter syndrome or, that sense of self-doubt. And so holistic confidence to me looks like paying attention to your whole self, to your whole story. And so in the work that I do, it's in the 6 parts of being your whole self. It starts with physical, and it involves your emotional, your mental, your relational, your spiritual, and your renewal. And where there is a piece of yourself where you're not feeling confident, it will show up in those other parts. But if you want to increase confidence in one of those parts, there are some specific things that you can do in order to kind of pull those triggers and help to elevate confidence in that part of yourself, which will impact your whole self. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So are there certain areas that you tend to see people struggle more when you look at the different parts to it?
Yeah. I would say the number one part for women is physical. That's what our data shows, at least. Every woman that I have met has had a trickier relationship with her body in some way, shape, or form at some point in her life. In some ways, it's cultural, right? Like society is real brutal on women and what we're supposed to look like and how we're supposed to show up in the world physically. But some of it is also because our bodies as women just go through the frickin' ringer. I mean, not just every 28 days, but in like every season of life, there's just a lot. I mean, Olivia, how old are you?
I'm 22.
22. So, from the time that we're small and especially triggering in puberty all the way through menopause, like there are major, major shifts that happen in our body. So I think that is definitely the number one is women are experiencing some confidence issues in our bodies, how we're feeling, how we're showing up in the world, what we're able to have the capacity to do with our bodies. All of that is connected. But then I would say the second part that feels most stretched or has the most tension is in the renewal space. It is in how do we process and handle stress, and how do we move through the world without burning out? Like, how do we fulfill our capacity and our potential without burning out? And there's a real sense of like confidence crisis of, can I do it all and still hold on to myself?
And do you think people can do it all? Because here's why I asked that question.
Yeah.
So, there's so much discussion about balance. I'm just not a balance believer, because I believe that, yes, overall in life, like, you have certain things, but each day is something different. Like, today you spent a lot of time on phone calls, right? And there's certain days where I spend tons of time working, and I don't have as much time for my family or for myself. And other days I spend more time on myself. So it's kind of like I look at prioritizing versus actually thinking about balancing. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we're simpatico on that, Simone. I think balance is a myth. I think balance is something you swing through from one extreme to another. I'm much more a fan of rhythms. I remember probably a year before I became a mom, another mom that I really respected, who was super high achieving. She was very ambitious. She had like all this, she was a badass, leading in incredible ways. And she said, April, some days you're going to be really awesome at home and really bad at work. And other days you're going to be really bad at work and really great at home. And the balance is kind of this longer term projection of like, is there overall balance, right? I also remember like when our kids first came home, I was like paranoid that I was not giving them balanced meals every day. I was like, they're not getting enough fruits and veggies today. Like, all they want to do is eat, chicken nuggets today, or all they want to do is eat bread. And I remember a girlfriend to me saying, like, look at the whole week. Are they getting, a good amount of those fruits and veggies throughout the week, and not just maybe in one single meal? And I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, I do believe that we can have it all, but we can't have it all of the time. And there are going to be some periods where like there are things that are really high and other things that are really low. And that's the balancedness over time. I'm with you.
When my husband was in residency, so he's a surgeon, and when he was in residency, his attending said to him, so just so you know, you're either going to be a really great father or a really great surgeon, or at best, you'll be mediocre at both. You have to decide. And he was like, what are you saying to me? But I mean, that's not how he sees it. He sees it as like, there's days, yes, he is super skilled and he is a great surgeon. And there's days where he is going to spend 12 hours doing work, and he'll come home and we'll be asleep. Right. And then there's other days where he's like, oh, like yesterday, he's like, I'm done. It's 2:00. And I'm like, I love that, but I am actually working right now. So I can't just like chill and hang out. But, it's always interesting to hear people's perspectives of, how you have to live your life in a certain way. And basically you have to do all these things and make yourself miserable because you're not going to be good enough. And I just don't agree with any of that.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great example about your husband. And at the end of the day, you have to lead yourself holistically first. And so again, there's a longer term perspective on how do you do that, not just a 24-hour cycle, but a period of time where how are you actually leading yourself physically, emotionally, relationally, mentally throughout it all. And there might be times where you're pulling out and going, I need like a concentrated time to renew and to recover my life. And there might be times where you need to be like all in. Like, Olivia, I would guess for you being in law school right now, like you got some long study days, right?
For sure.
And there's a focus and a prioritization here to lead yourself holistically so that you're able to finish the degree. So you're able to pass the bar, right? You've got to consider all of these other factors of your life in order to get you to the place that you want to go.
Yeah, I think what I have learned in this past, what have it been? Like I'm almost done with my second semester of my first year, is that balance does not exist at all. And I think the best way to explain that is usually based off the state of my apartment. And I like to keep it clean. Like I'm genuinely, I try to be a cleaner person.
Okay, not when she's home though. At her,
Okay,
in
that has
her
actually
apart-
completely changed. Okay, growing up, I was very messy, and then I moved out into my own space in college, and I realized, making your bed actually makes your room look nice. You do have to do the dishes on a daily basis. But so, like, I was looking around my apartment today, and I was like, it's been a while since I've dusted everything. And I think that's like a really good example because I've been focusing so much on school. I don't have to be dusting every week. That's not the priority. The priority is school. But when I do find that free moment, it is like nice to take care of the things that are in school.
And when you do that, you get a boost of confidence, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Because why do you get a boost of confidence when that happens?
Because it's checking something off my list. I love the feeling, regardless of how big or small it is. And my home list, my outside of school list kind of sits untouched for a very long time until I can get to it. Just because of the nature of what I'm doing. And it feels really nice to get that thing off. And it's also just like, hey, you did something productive. Like, good for you.
You got to win.
Yeah.
You did something that mattered to you. I think that's the other thing when I think about confidence, again, particularly for women, is that confidence, like we get to define what matters to us and where we will feel the win, right? Whether that's fitting into the pair of jeans your favorite pair of jeans that you love, or having your apartment dusted, or that you get straight A's for a semester. Like you get confidence based on the goals achievement that matter to you. So you define it.
I like that. Like that you build it yourself through. I mean, it seems way more achievable that way than just saying have some confidence.
And it's embodied. Like I think part of the BS about like even imposter syndrome is it's based on somebody else's external projection onto you of like, this is what you need to be doing in order to feel validated or to feel valid or valued. And it's like, who says? Like, what matters to me is this. And so if I do this, then I'm going to walk a little taller. I'm going to put my shoulders back. I'm going to have a little strut in my step because I did something that mattered to me. And it was probably even just for me, but other people benefited. Win-win.
You're a big duster now?
I haven't dusted yet.
I was like, okay. But I do think those little things are important. We tend to look at wins as like these huge things like, okay, I finished my 32-page paper. Okay, well, what about just, you went to the grocery store and bought something other than Cheetos, right? I mean, we don't give ourselves credit for the little things that we're doing. And I think we have to remind ourselves that everything counts. When we do something, it's a win, it's a win.
It does. Totally.
So you had some struggles over the last few years with your health. And so I'm very curious about it because I had another friend go through something similar, and I kind of wanted to hear about your experience and how it even started.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so we're recording this on March the 25th, 2025, and March 30th, 2 years ago, I got really sick. Overnight, out of nowhere, just like my body crashed. And literally non-functional, like couldn't get out of bed, and ended up going to a series of doctors, having hundreds of blood tests done, a bunch of referrals to all kinds of, different kinds of doctors, infectious disease and rheumatologists and all sorts of doctors. And nobody could figure out what was wrong. Everyone was like, you're fine. Every test came back normal. Everything tested within like what was supposed to be. And I was like, I'm clearly not normal. I literally was pretty non-functional for the better part of 6 months. And then I found a different kind of doctor, functional medicine. And within a couple of weeks, they had a pretty good idea of what was going on, did some different kinds of testing, and the results came back very conclusive. I had highly elevated mold toxicity. And the first conversation that I had with my doctor was, listen, I'm 43 years old, but I am not moldy.
Yeah.
I have a lot of life to live. Like I'm getting older, but I'm not moldy. And he chuckled, and it set me on a trajectory of really intense treatment. So it has been almost 2 years to the day since I got sick. It's been a roller coaster. I have had lots of ups and downs, and treatment has been really intense. In 2024, I had over 200 medical claims,
Oh my
a
gosh.
couple $100,000 worth of medical treatment. And my capacity was significantly lower as my body was healing. We had to move. It's literally been the worst 2 years of my life. It has been devastating on every single level.
Mhm.
And honestly, it has caused me to like double and triple down on this whole idea of holistic leadership, because I have had to practice what I've preached. I've been like case study number one all over
Yeah.
again of, does the stuff that I talk about, the ways that I coach leaders, is it actually true, even in the worst of times, in the worst of circumstances? And I'm not out of the journey yet. I'm still in process, and my body is still healing and recovering 2 years later. But I would say I believe even more deeply that this is the only way to live life, is with this holistic approach, because without it, like just things fall apart and there's disintegration. So it's been wild.
I've first question off the bat, is mold in your house?
Yeah.
Okay, this has been a growing issue that I've been seeing all over social media, especially in dorm rooms in colleges
Ooh.
that have not been renovated for years. And the idea that like this like frat plague or whatever, what do they call it? The frat flu is not actually a frat flu. It's just mold toxicity.
Oh,
And
Olivia.
the more and here, like, is this a real thing? People don't take mold seriously enough. I think probably half of New York City is having issues with mold in their apartments.
Yeah.
Super scary thing. Also, wanted to add that so I have Crohn's disease, and so chronic illness. When I first got diagnosed, I can totally relate. The first year was so miserable for me because it was not only so draining on my body, but the idea of like, I'm stuck with this forever. And I was 16 when I was diagnosed.
Wow.
And yeah, it was terrifying at the time. And I felt like I didn't process it for a long time looking back, that it was just this thing I had, and I did a medication for it, and that's it. But it's so much more. It affects me on so much more of an everyday level and a mental level and a physical level. It's so hard to explain to people that don't go through chronic illnesses, like how tiring it is. But just know that people are out there that understand you, and I'm so sorry.
Yeah. I mean, same. I think one of the gifts of the nightmare has been, I have such deeper empathy and compassion for folks that have been or are going through chronic things. I mean, prior to getting sick, I was literally the healthiest, strongest, fittest, leanest I'd ever been in my 43 years of life at that point. And then like, it was like the bottom fell out for me. And I was like, what? It just did not compute that I could go from like, this place to this place. And, but now like, one of the things that I have felt really grateful about is that every doctor and my husband have believed me. And that's not common for women.
It is not.
I learned it takes 7 to 10 years on average for women to get diagnosed with mold toxicity. It took me 6 months, and I felt like it was hell.
Yeah.
Like it was the longest period, because I had never been sick for that long. I was never sick before. And so 6 months of being sick was like, what is going on? What is wrong with me? So yeah, I mean, my heart breaks. And I also feel like a fierce advocate now of like, there are answers, there are solutions, there is a way forward. One of my core pillars is that your body is the basis for your whole life. And when your body suffers, everything else does too. Like you just described, Olivia, like emotionally, wow, like going to the depths, the grief, the conflicting emotions, mentally, like the way that your thoughts go, like can get wild. Relationally, it has an impact, because for me, like my world got real small. Like I had no capacity for anybody other than really my husband, my kiddos, and a couple of really close friends. I had no capacity relationally. It impacts every other part. And so, to pay attention to the whole thing is of great need and consequence.
Did anyone else in your house get sick?
Yes and no. The rest of my fam had some minor symptoms.
Yeah.
there were a couple of weird outlying factors that made me the lucky one to get, prone to that kind of response and that kind of deal. So gratefully, the rest of them were okay for the most part.
Yeah, I think it's a really scary thing. We don't think about that. There's all different things that could be happening, right? But, we live in Florida. Our roof leaks, right?
Yep.
Things happen all the time. And I don't know enough about it to know that, is it that you have to be prone to certain things that you get really sick from it? Or is it just exposure is going to affect everyone? Because it seems like there's a lot of moldy places around here, but a lot of people seem still okay.
Yeah, a lot of it has to do with exposure for sure. And again, that was kind of one of the factors for me is I was pretty much constantly exposed to the mold in our house. And then some of it is genetic disposition. So there's a chromosome that I seem to have that makes both me more prone to symptoms and my body crashing. And then even like a deeper level of response. So yeah. And that's what's so interesting about being a human, right? Is that like different things impact different people all the time, whether it's mold or people with bad boundaries or it's a boss with a certain personality, right? Like we all have kind of soft spots within us and how we interact with the external world. And our role is to pay attention to how those different soft spots or kind of weak tender points are going to be impacted. And then what are we going to do about it as a result? And I do think that is a confidence thing too. Like you gain some confidence or you lose some confidence based on how you respond to some of those external situations and circumstances impacting you in your everyday life.
So that, obviously it's still difficult, but that beginning part, that idea, well, okay, you're fine. Just keep going. You're fine. And one of the things I talk about often is the idea of faking it until you make it, which again, I don't believe in at all, but would love to hear your thoughts on when people say, oh, just fake it till you make it. You're good.
I'm so glad that you said that you don't believe in it or you don't like it. Cause I was like, if she does, I'm going to have to tread real lightly or go about it a different way. Yeah. I think it's total bullshit just to be like I think it's a really unhealthy way to go about life because it disembodies you. It creates disintegration. It's not authentic. And I don't think it actually gets you to where you want to go. So maybe this is just a simple little trajectory shift in it. But when folks say, I'm just going to fake it till you make it, I say, what if instead we train differently so that you can get different results? And by that, I mean, you do different things than you are currently doing to get you in a different destination. Athletes train all the time in order to get the results that they're looking for. They don't fake it till they make it to get on the field and score a touchdown or a goal or whatever, right? They're not faking it. They train in order to get the results that they want. So I think that part of the fake it till you make it is actually a kill to the confidence, not the other way around.
I agree. So what I like to say for people to do instead, because I'm a big believer in the words you use, the words you say to yourself, the words you say about yourself. Yep. And I think a way to start building confidence is not faking it till you make it, but saying it until you become it. So you use your positive affirmations to move you forward. You don't tell yourself that you look like shit in the mirror. You say, you know what? You are unique. You look amazing. Let's go. Right? All these things that, because if we can say horrible things to ourselves all the time and believe them, then the opposite is true. We can say positive things to ourselves and then we do become them, right? When we look back at when I was a kid and, what will other people think, whatever. And I had great parents. My mom is still alive. She's great. But it was that different mindset of that you had to do things a certain way, like I said before, of like stuffing down the shame of something because you couldn't talk about that stuff. And so if I would have at that age been able to use that different mindset of just keep saying it because you will become it. Because when you keep saying it, you put in the work. Trust me, I'm not just saying you're going to sit on your couch and say, oh, you're going to be an astronaut tomorrow. No, come on. You keep saying it and you put in the work.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. I love that you said that, because what you're doing is you're training your brain to think differently. And then as you think differently, you do differently. And when you do differently, you get different results. It's literally science. It's not rocket science, but like it's science, and it'll get you into a different place. That's great.
I don't know who first came up with fake it till you make it, though, because it's kind of a horrible thing to say, especially like if you think about it from a financial level. Like overspend until you get to the point where you can spend like that is horrible advice.
I mean, if you really flesh it out in a variety of contexts, right?
Yeah.
It's like you stick a kid behind a wheel and you're like, fake it till you make it, kiddo. And you're like, or you just destroy the car and now you're in the hospital.
It's horrible.
It just literally doesn't make sense. It is illogical. Our brains don't function like that. In no way, shape, or form does it actually benefit you or build confidence.
Yeah, it's just telling you that you're not good enough from the start, right?
Yeah.
You're not good enough, so just pretend you are. Well, okay, that doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Speaking about drivers, so I was watching, some random stupid shit on Instagram or whatever I was watching, and there's these videos of this kid. It's like the worst driver in Australia. Have you either of you guys seen this?
No.
Okay, I don't know why that one's coming up on my feed. I have no idea, but it is, and it is absolutely hilarious. Like he is driving and with his mom or with his dad, and they're just like out of their minds the entire time. And I'm just thinking, like, why don't you start like on a course? Like, why are you taking me out into the road? And he's like, I know it's for amusement, but I was like, oh my gosh, okay. He's trying. He's not faking it. He's trying really hard.
But see, that's the other part. Like, even if trying doesn't get you to where you need to go, right? Like you can try, but if you haven't trained properly, you're still in a real bad spot. So I'm going to laugh, and I'm going to text you later, Simone, if that video appears on my phone.
Right,
because my
after
phone
I
is
said it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Listening to us, and now it's like going to be
Australia's worst driver. I think that's what the thing is. So let's see if I say it twice, if it will show up for you.
If it does, I'll be so creeped out.
Yeah. Liv, you want to go on to questions?
Sure. What do you like? That was a very weird way to say that.
I don't know.
Okay. Well, I want to ask about your experience adopting children then, because if the ball's in my court, I get to ask.
Yes,
you can do whatever you want.
So that's why I threw it to you.
How did you first decide to adopt?
So my husband and I had been married for probably 5 years, and we weren't sure that we wanted to have biological kids. Thought we probably would, but we weren't positive. But we started learning about the orphan crisis in sub-Saharan Africa, and we were kind of captivated by it and had a very just strong sense of kids don't belong in orphanages or without any sort of parental units. Like, they need to be in families. So we started learning, exploring. We thought we finally decided we wanted to have bio kids, and then entered into a pretty gnarly infertility journey. And after a few years of lots of failed fertility attempts, we reached a point in that process where we decided we did not want to go any further. We knew we wanted to adopt anyway. And so we started the process. We knew, had a friend who had adopted from Ethiopia. And so that became just a pretty easy yes. We used the agency that they used and all of that. And so, yeah, it was kind of that was the easiest decision, really. It was just this, like, we had spent some time in Kenya as well, kind of in between that time of, like, we thought we wanted to adopt, but we hadn't committed yet. And then we spent some time in Kenya, and we're at a AIDS orphanage, and we held some babies there. And my husband and I had one of those moments. We looked in each other's eyes and we're like, this has moved from, wouldn't it be cool, or wouldn't this be something that might be good to do for our family down the road, into this is absolutely a thing that needs to happen for our family to be formed. So it was a few years later before we started the adoption process, but yeah.
How old were your kids when they came home?
2.5 years on paper. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
And 11 months. Our daughter turned 1 just like 3 weeks after she came home.
Wow.
So yeah, they were little.
Yeah. When we traveled to Ethiopia the first time to bring Ari home, Ari was 4.5 years old, and we brought Olivia and Emma with us, and they did not want to leave. So there was a guest house at the orphanage. And so we stayed at the guest house, and we're like, do you want to go around and see Addis Ababa? And they were like, no, we're good. I was like, there's even a mall. They're like, no, they just wanted to sit in the baby rooms and hold the babies all day long. And when we went home with Ari, we knew we were going to come back one more time. I mean, the girls were crying because we were leaving their favorite babies behind. And I was like, it doesn't work that way. You don't just go and say, oh, I'm going to take this baby. But they were little. They didn't really understand how it worked. And so we literally started the adoption process again we requested an older boy again. And we were matched with Millie, and she was 2.5 years old. And, I can't believe that in a little bit over a year, I could potentially be an empty nester. Ooh. It's just crazy to think.
I like how you added the potential.
I always say potential. You never know. I mean, again, after COVID, I say potential about any of these things because, everybody came home. So you just don't know what's going to happen. I did not come home.
I have not officially. I guess I'm coming home this summer, but that's temporary.
Well, you never left.
That's fair. I haven't returned yet. I just would like to say I haven't returned yet.
Oh, but you are. You are this summer.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a fun one.
For some weeks. Oh, come on. We're going to have the best time.
No, it's going to be so fun. But I'm working at home this summer. So that's why.
Like not for me, but.
No. Right.
Like,
in a law field?
Yes.
For an internship? That's awesome.
So how, so I was reading your story a little bit. You had your biological child's like weeks after?
Not weeks. No. Okay. We went from 0 to 3 kids in 15 months.
Love it.
Yeah. It was fast. So Judah and Addis came home in January 2011. And then we pretty miraculously got pregnant in September. So 9 months later. And we literally, Brian and I had gone out for a date 2 weeks before we got pregnant. No, 2 weeks after. It was 2 weeks after we had gotten pregnant. So we didn't know we were pregnant yet. And we looked at each other and we're like, I think we're going to survive. I think we're going to make it. Because we know this is 2 little babies and we were just like in it to win it but not winning. We were just like barely surviving. And I was pregnant. And then he came 7 weeks early. So we had 3 kids under the age of 4. And it was wild. We had like 3 rules in those first couple of years. It was like, keep everyone alive.
Yeah.
Love each other as best we can and just get shit done.
Yeah.
It was just like, we had 3 rules to live by as a family. And if we could do 2 out of those 3 on a given day, we thought we were kind of doing pretty good, at least better than the average baseball player. So now it's all normal because they're 16, 15, and 13. So things look very normal in the Diaz house on the age level when I tell people our kids' age, but our story has been anything but normal.
We're not normal. There's nothing about us that's normal.
Normal's overrated anyway.
And I like weird, honestly. I like quirky. I like being different.
It makes for a good story.
Yes.
At least.
Yes. I mean, all the things that probably used to bother me, now I embrace them because I'm like, this is what makes us cool. Like, it doesn't matter. None of that stuff matters. We're supposed to be who we are. Not supposed to change everything.
So question back at you then. Do you think that has been part of why you have this unshakable confidence? Is because you have learned to kind of embrace those weird, quirky, abnormal, weird things about yourself. Has that been part of your secret sauce?
Absolutely. I think that, again, if you're talking about what's your story, your whole story, that's part of our whole story, right? I mean, I was saying, like, I do have weird things and I like weird. I really do. So
weird is awesome.
Yeah. And I think that it's important to think about it like that. I think when we stop thinking about, oh, if I do this, someone might not like me, or if I act this way, or none of that stuff should matter, right? You should be able to be you through and through. And again, I do like the weird stuff. Like, for example, this isn't even that weird, and it probably won't work because if you're on Zoom, it doesn't work. Can you hear if I whistle? Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't work on Zoom.
So I can work with, you can't whistle on Zoom. It takes it out of there. It's like you can't hear a vacuum on Zoom either. So anyways, okay. So this is just a quirky thing. But when I was in middle school, I learned how to whistle without having to move my mouth. So I can do, this is like my party trick.
This is not your only party trick.
Okay, but that's a good one, right?
No, but you have really other good ones too. Like she can tie a cherry stem. Like to me as a kid, that's cool.
With her tongue?
Yeah.
Yeah. My husband can do that too. That's
And
what
then-
supposedly makes you a good kisser, just so you know.
Oh,
Good for you, Mom.
Good for me.
Then
You
Dad
don't
used to
don't
say-
want to hear that, do you?
I mean, fair enough. Dad used to say that when you guys were like, I don't know, younger, I don't know how young you were, you used to do like crazy long planks at parties.
Yeah, I could do a plank for like 8 minutes.
Wow.
I can't do 30 seconds these days, but I used to. So we can
Like
just
that? I mean,
check
okay.
that off the list.
You got a lot of cool tricks up your sleeves.
Yeah.
Aw,
Lots
that's
of quirky.
sweet.
Lots of
From
quirky.
daughter to mother. That's
Yeah.
sweet.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask the question this time.
Okay, good.
What's the best advice a woman in your life ever gave you? Because I know I give great advice every single day of my life. Right, Olivia? Every day?
Mhm.
Yeah. So what's the best advice someone ever gave you?
Oh my gosh. I've been the receiver of a lot of good advice. Okay, this is from Mindy. And I'm thinking about her because yesterday was her 60th birthday. So I got to send her a little video, happy birthday, that her husband is putting together this whole thing. And she's been in my life for almost 25 years. And I told her in the video that one of the things that has been true is that my husband and I haven't made like one significant life decision without her counsel. She's just so freaking wise. And probably what the best piece of advice she gave me was 2 years ago. I was in my mid-20s, Olivia, just a little bit older than you. And she said to me, April, you have a Popeye arm. And I said, what does that mean? And she said, you have one really, really strong arm that is ambition, goals, working hard, getting shit done, like all of the like go-getter things, you know? And she said, but this other arm that you have is totally emaciated. And that is the arm of rest and recovery and renewal and of really taking care of yourself. And she told me that like on the heels of having 2 panic attacks in the span of a couple of weeks. And I'm not prone to panic attacks. Like anxiety is not my natural bent. So having them was like a really serious warning sign of like something is really wrong here in how I'm going through life. And so that Popeye arm advice or just perspective was really good. And she just said, you need to learn how to recover your life. You need to learn rhythms of rest. You need to learn how to be renewed in your whole self. And I think that piece of advice, that conversation probably saved my life, my marriage, my leadership, all kinds of things, because she was right. She was totally spot on right. I ran so fast, so hard, so intensely for long periods of time, and it was going to destroy me. And so learning how to not have a Popeye arm and to really have two strong arms that are equally balanced has been a soul saver, a lifesaver for me.
I love that. That's such great advice. Mm-hmm. Olivia, do you have your calendar?
Yes. You have to see.
Wait, you don't know the story. We didn't tell you before. No. So on each episode, Olivia reads the quote of the day from the Unf Yourself calendar. I started this with her 2 years ago. I sent her this calendar, and we realized it's very valuable, and we love it. So it's part of the podcast each week. Okay, now Olivia, go. Tell us how to unf ourselves today.
You have to see there's a problem before you can do anything about it.
Ooh, I love it.
Yeah.
Got to acknowledge those, right? I mean,
And acknowledge them early.
The earlier the better.
I was talking to a girl. This is a very minute example. And she was like, I just didn't realize how big of a paper that we had to write. And so I couldn't get the last couple of points down in the amount of time that we had to do. And I think that's what that reminded me of. Even assess the whole thing before you start, honestly. And the earlier, the better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It made me think of the first task of a leader is to define reality. And I don't think reality always is a problem, but certainly there are problems to acknowledge. And yeah, you gotta define reality if you're going to be able to move forward from it. That's cool.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you the basics. Where can people find you? And I know you're going to include, we're going to include in the show notes a quiz that you're offering to our listeners. So tell us more.
Yeah. So probably the best place to find me is our website. It's ezerandco.com, EZERANDCO.com. I will say that if you're listening to this in the next couple of months, like before June, we're going to have a new snazzy website come this summer. So come back and check it out. But ezerandco.com is the best place to check me out right now. But I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram, April L. Diaz, on all of the platforms there. So that's the best place. But something that Simone, you and I talked about earlier is I think one of the ways, talking about reality and problems and all of that, moving forward well, to really build a deeper sense of your confidence is you need to know where you're at right now and then where you need to go next. Like, what is your best next step forward? And when you take that step, it builds confidence. So we have a free 20-question quiz on our website, and we'll drop the link in the show notes too, to get a holistic assessment on where you're at right now and what would be the best place for you to take a next step. And we've had hundreds and hundreds of women and men take this assessment over the last couple of years. And it's just a really helpful tool to be able to figure out what is my best next step forward and really build that confidence up.
I love that. So I want to thank you for joining us today, April. I'm going to end like we have been ending recently, which is with a confidence tip of the day or the week, because we only do this once a week. So let's say of the week. Confidence grows when you keep promises to yourself. Start small, wake up when you say you will, speak up when it matters, finish what you start. Every time you follow through, you show yourself you're trustworthy. And that is the foundation of unshakable confidence. So thank you for joining us on this week's episode. Always remember, you are unshakable.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening to Her Unshakeable Confidence with Simone and Olivia Knego. We hope this episode has made your day just a little bit brighter and given you the inspiration you need to confidently go about your week. Always remember to be authentically you. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And feel free to connect with them on Instagram at Simone Knego and at Olivia Knego. Till next time.